She thought you were weak. She believed you needed her validation. But real strength, it doesn't beg or chase. It moves in silence. This video isn't about revenge. It's about transformation. About stepping into a version of yourself so grounded, so unshakable, that the only thing left for her to do is regret underestimating you. Stoicism teaches us true power lies in self-mastery, not in proving a point. So today we'll explore 10 quiet yet powerful moves that will not only make her question everything she thought she knew about you, but will redefine how you see yourself. Let's begin. Number 1. Disappear like a shadow, the power of silence and absence in relationships. When a man finds himself in a position where he is undervalued, taken for granted, or constantly chasing after validation, the most potent response is not anger, confrontation, or desperate attempts to explain his worth. It is silence. It is absence. The quiet, deliberate withdrawal speaks louder than any words ever could. In relationships, many men fall into the trap of over-explaining themselves, justifying their feelings, or continuously trying to prove their value to a woman who is not reciprocating their efforts. They chase, plead, and seek closure, hoping she will suddenly appreciate them by saying the right thing or making her understand. But this rarely works. The more a man chases, the more he reinforces the imbalance, showing that his presence is constant and that he will always be there, no matter how he is treated. The true power lies in doing the opposite and walking away without a word, without pleading, without dramatic ultimatums, without trying to convince her of anything. When a man stops seeking validation and disappears like a shadow, he shifts the dynamic. His absence creates a void, one that cannot be ignored. This is not about playing games or manipulating emotions. It is about self-respect. A man who knows his worth does not beg to be valued. He does not fight for attention that should be freely given. Instead, he recognizes when he is no longer appreciated and removes himself with quiet dignity. This absence, this sudden silence, creates space for reflection. The woman who once overlooked his presence now feels the emptiness left behind. She notices the lack of his support, his energy, his effort. And in that absence, she begins to understand what she had but failed to appreciate. The effect of disappearing is profound. A realization occurs when someone is no longer always reaching out, always available, and constantly seeking validation. The void speaks. It reminds her of the value he brought to her life. It allows her to see the contrast between his presence and his absence. And more often than not, it is in this silence that true clarity emerges. For a man, this approach is not just about making a woman realize his worth. It is about reclaiming his own. It is about stepping away from situations where he is not valued, rather than exhausting himself and forcing appreciation from someone who does not see it. It is about redirecting his energy toward his growth, ambitions, and self-respect, because a man who respects himself will always be more powerful than one who chases after someone who does not. If she genuinely values him, she will feel his absence. She will reflect on what she lost. And if she does not, then his silence will have served its purpose. It will have freed him from a situation where he was never seen in the first place. Either way, he wins, because the man who can walk away without a word is the man who has already won the battle for his self-worth. Number 2, building an unstoppable routine, transforming yourself into a man of value. There comes a point in every man's life when he must remain stagnant, repeat the same patterns, or step into the disciplined pursuit of self-improvement. This choice is not just about becoming more attractive to women. It is about becoming a man of substance whose presence commands respect, admiration, and even regret from those who fail to appreciate him. The most powerful way to achieve this transformation is through an unshakable routine that redirects all your energy into personal growth. Instead of allowing emotions to dictate your actions, you channel them into something productive that enhances your physical, intellectual, and emotional resilience. The foundation of this transformation begins with the body. Physical fitness is not just about aesthetics, it reflects discipline and self-respect. A man who invests in his health is a man who values himself. Whether investing in the gym, running at sunrise, or practicing martial arts, each repetition and drop of sweat declares that you control your destiny. Beyond physical strength, actual growth demands intellectual and skill-based mastery. Developing a new skill, building a business, or immersing yourself in a passion fuels your sense of purpose. A man who constantly learns and refines his craft is a man who cannot be ignored. Whether mastering a musical instrument, becoming fluent in a new language, or launching a side hustle, every step forward adds another layer to your worth. This transformation is not about proving anything to anyone else, it is about embodying the very principles that define a man of value. The Stoics believed in action over words, being a good man rather than debating what it means to be one. This philosophy applies to every aspect of life. You don't need to justify your growth to anyone, nor do you need to seek validation. You simply act. You become. The results will speak for themselves. And here's where an interesting shift occurs. As you evolve, the people around you, including past lovers who once underestimated you, begin to take notice. The version of you they once knew is gone, replaced by someone more assertive, capable, and focused. They regret not because they lost you, but because they failed to recognize your potential before you fully stepped into it. However, the true victory is not in their regret, but in your realization that their opinion no longer defines you. Pursuing self-improvement was never about winning someone back. It was about building a life so fulfilling, driven by purpose, that you become unstoppable. Women are drawn to men who are grounded in their mission, men who do not waver in the face of rejection or hardship. A man who follows this path does not chase love. Love finds him. This is the essence of building an unstoppable routine, a disciplined, relentless commitment to growth. When you invest in yourself, the world takes notice. And when you finally reach a place where you no longer seek validation, you become the kind of man who never has to ask for it in the first place. Number 3, the power of silence, how emotional restraint commands respect and influence. In the intricate world of relationships, words often serve as a bridge between two people, conveying emotions, clarifying misunderstandings, and strengthening intimacy. However, an unspoken power surpasses even the most eloquent arguments: the power of silence. When used correctly, silence is not a sign of weakness or avoidance, but rather a deliberate display of emotional strength, self-control, and unwavering confidence. Women are highly attuned to emotional dynamics in relationships. They can sense insecurity, neediness, or defensiveness in a man's tone, body language, and reactions. How you react when conflicts arise or when she attempts to provoke a response from you, whether out of frustration, a desire to test your emotional stability, or even an unconscious need for reassurance, will define the outcome. Many men fall into the trap of explaining, defending, or even pleading, thinking that logic and reason will resolve the situation. However, the more you explain, the more it can come across as insecurity or a desperate attempt to gain approval. True confidence does not seek validation, A man who understands his worth does not feel the need to justify himself or react to emotional provocations. Instead, he allows silence to carry the weight of his emotions. This kind of silence is not cold or dismissive. Instead, it is the silence of a man who refuses to be drawn into unnecessary conflict, values his peace over proving a point, and communicates his strength through his unshaken demeanor. Imagine a situation where she criticizes you unfairly, makes a passive-aggressive remark, or tests your emotional boundaries with a comment meant to get a rise out of you. A reactive man would immediately counter, trying to defend himself, explain why she was wrong, or seek her approval. However, a man who truly understands the power of silence would simply pause, meet her gaze calmly, and refuse to engage in a battle of words. His lack of immediate reaction forces her to sit with the weight of her words. In that moment, the silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. It creates an atmosphere where she must confront her emotions, instead of shifting them onto him. This approach is not about manipulating or playing games, but mastering emotional discipline. It sends a clear message. You are not easily shaken, you do not seek validation, and impulsive emotions do not control you. Over time, this silent strength cultivates respect. Women are naturally drawn to men who exhibit unwavering confidence, and nothing signals confidence more than the ability to remain composed in moments where most would crumble. Of course, silence should not be used to stonewall, punish, or emotionally distance yourself from your partner. There is a difference between strategic silence and avoidance. The key is to use silence as a moment of power, not a permanent state of detachment. Once the moment's intensity has passed, re-engaging calmly allows for a more productive and respectful conversation. By mastering the power of silence, you shift the communication dynamic in your favor. Instead of being led by emotional impulses, you become the one who sets the tone of the interaction. Women respect a man who does not let his emotions dictate his actions, does not scramble for approval, and understands that sometimes the strongest statement is the one left unsaid. Number 4. The silent transformation. Becoming the best version of yourself without seeking validation. Actual growth does not require an audience. It is not measured by how many people notice, nor does external validation fuel it. A man who embarks on a journey of self-improvement does so for himself, not to impress, not to prove a point, and certainly not to seek revenge on those who once doubted him. The most profound transformation happens in silence, in the quiet moments of discipline, consistency, and resilience. A man who chooses to elevate himself, physically, mentally, and emotionally, without needing constant recognition, exudes a quiet confidence far more potent than any words or social media announcement. He invests in his health, refining his physique, not to showcase but to feel strong and capable. He develops his mind, expanding his knowledge, sharpening his skills, and deepening his wisdom, not to boast, but because he values growth. He cultivates habits that align with the life he envisions, stepping away from distractions and shallow pursuits to focus on becoming someone he respects when he looks in the mirror. This transformation, done in silence, is undeniable. People begin to sense it before they see it. A man who has elevated himself carries an energy that speaks for him. He does not need to advertise his progress because it radiates in how he moves, speaks, and handles himself. The woman who once left him, who may have dismissed his potential, will eventually witness the contrast between who he was and who he has become. But by then, his transformation is no longer about her. It never was. The mistake many men make after a breakup or rejection is attempting to prove themselves to the woman who walked away. They loudly declare their ambitions, flaunt their progress, or seek validation through exaggerated displays of success. But such efforts often backfire, revealing insecurity rather than confidence. A man who glows up does so without desire for external approval. His focus is inward, his discipline is consistent, and his growth is steady. He does not chase recognition, yet it finds him. Women are naturally drawn to men who are in motion, men who are evolving, striving, and committed to their greatness. But the difference between a man who boasts and simply embodies his progress is stark. The former seeks attention, the latter commands it without trying. He does not announce his transformation, yet it becomes impossible to ignore. This is what Pausanias believed, and he found his strategy a fitting one. And when the past resurfaces, when she sees the undeniable change in him, he no longer seeks closure, validation, or any form of acknowledgement. His life has moved forward. His focus is no longer on proving anything, but on continuing his journey of self-mastery. This is the essence of true transformation. It is done for the self, sustained by the self, and validated only by the self. And that, in itself, is the most attractive, powerful, and enduring glow-up. Number 5. Walking away with strength. The art of letting go with dignity. There comes a time in every man's life when he must decide whether to hold on or to walk away. The instinct to fight for something, to seek closure, or to make one last attempt at salvaging a fading relationship can be overwhelming. However, true strength is not found in desperate pleas or emotional outbursts, but in the quiet, unwavering resolve to step away with dignity. When a relationship reaches its natural conclusion, whether due to incompatibility, lack of respect, or an imbalance of effort, a man's most powerful statement is not through words but through action. Instead of sending long-winded messages, hoping for an explanation, or trying to change her mind, the best course is simply walking away. There is no drama, theatrics, or attempts to make her see what she is losing, just a silent, firm withdrawal that speaks volumes. A man who values himself does not beg for love or chase validation from someone who has already decided to move on. He understands that his worth is not dependent on someone else's recognition of it. By walking away with composure, he commands respect, not just from her, but from himself. He sends a clear message: I do not stay where I am not valued. Many men struggle with the need for closure, believing they could gain peace if they just had one last conversation and one final explanation. But the truth is, closure is often an illusion. Seeking it from another person gives them power over your emotional state, keeping you tethered to a situation that no longer serves you. The closure comes from within, when you accept what is, release what was, and focus on what will be. The impact of a man walking away gracefully is far more significant than any emotional reaction. He leaves a lasting impression when he removes himself without resentment or bitterness, without trying to convince or prove his worth. Over time, she will remember his self-respect, high confidence, and the fact that he did not lower himself to pleading or arguing. That absence will echo louder than any words ever could. This approach requires inner resilience, the ability to sit with discomfort rather than react impulsively. It means resisting the urge to reach out, check in, and seek reassurance. It is about redirecting that energy inward, toward personal growth, self-improvement, and emotional stability. A man who can master this discipline becomes unshakable. He does not crumble in the face of loss, because he understands that any single relationship does not define his life. And this is the paradox. When you walk away with quiet confidence, you often become more attractive in hindsight. The same woman who may have taken your presence for granted might later realize the rarity of a man who values himself enough to lead with dignity. But by the time she sees it, you will have already moved forward, too focused on your path to look back. Ultimately, a man who knows when to walk away is a man who knows his worth. He does not beg, he does not explain, he does not chase. He simply accepts what is and moves forward with strength, knowing that the right person will never require him to sacrifice his dignity. And in that silent departure, in that unwavering self-respect, he finds his most significant power. Number 6. Mastering emotional control, the power of non-reaction in relationships. In any relationship, the ability to remain composed in the face of emotional provocations is a defining trait of strength. A woman's attempt to elicit a reaction, whether through baiting texts, cryptic social media posts, or indirect messages, often stems from a desire to test your emotional stability. If you react impulsively, you inadvertently reinforce the very behavior she is engaging in, giving her the power to dictate your emotions. However, by mastering the art of non-reaction, you demonstrate an unshakable sense of self-control, ultimately shifting the dynamic in your favor. Emotional control is one of the most potent traits a man can cultivate. It signals confidence, resilience, and internal stability, not easily swayed by external forces. When a woman senses that her attempts to provoke jealousy, frustration, or insecurity are met with calm indifference, she begins to recognize that her influence over your emotional state is diminishing. This creates a psychological shift. Where she once held the power to unsettle you, she now questions why you remain unaffected. Imagine a scenario where she sends a vague, attention-seeking text about how much fun she's having with someone new, hoping to elicit a jealous response. A reactive man would instantly reply, demanding answers or displaying insecurity. But a man who understands the value of non-reaction simply carries on with his life, unfazed. His silence communicates far more than words ever could. It conveys self-assurance and an understanding that true power lies in emotional self-mastery. Similarly, social media has become a battleground for emotional manipulation. A woman might post pictures with a former flame or subtly reference a situation meant to stir your emotions. The average man, caught in the trap of reactivity, would analyze, question, or even confront her. The man who has mastered non-reaction, however, remains composed. He doesn't give her the validation she seeks. Instead, he continues focusing on his life, goals, and well-being. Over time, she begins to wonder why her efforts to provoke a reaction no longer have an effect, and this realization can lead to a sense of regret and a newfound appreciation for his emotional strength. Refusing to engage in emotional games establishes a dynamic where she must respect your boundaries. Women are naturally drawn to men who possess an unwavering sense of self. Men who do not crumble under pressure or allow their emotions to be manipulated. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or refusing to express vulnerability in healthy ways, but choosing when and how to respond to maintain your dignity and self-respect. The long-term impact of emotional control extends beyond romantic relationships. It fosters a mindset that allows you to navigate conflicts, challenges, and social interactions with a level of poise that others admire. It sets a standard for how people should treat you, reinforcing that your emotional well-being is not up for negotiation. Ultimately, mastering the art of non-reaction is not about playing games or gaining an upper hand. It's about cultivating a mindset of emotional resilience. The less reactive you are to trivial provocations, the more power you hold over your life. A man in control of his emotions cannot be manipulated, which commands respect that no words or actions could ever achieve. Number 7. The power of personal mastery, thriving in solitude and becoming irresistible. In life and relationships, growth often occurs in moments of solitude. When you spend time alone, focusing on your personal development and pursuits, you not only enhance your own life, but also build an aura of independence that can make you more attractive and desirable to others, especially a woman. The key to this process is pursuing excellence in those quiet, solitary moments when no one is watching, and the world slows down enough for you to focus on your potential. During these times of solitude, it's vital to focus on self-improvement. Take the opportunity to learn a new skill, something related to your career, or an entirely new hobby that excites you. This could be anything from learning a new language, mastering an instrument, or delving into a subject that has always intrigued you. By developing new skills, you become more enjoyable and well-rounded, and gain the satisfaction of personal mastery. Education plays a decisive role in personal growth. Consider furthering your studies through formal education, online courses, or self-guided learning. Deepening your knowledge in various fields opens your mind to new ideas, perspectives, and opportunities that can enrich your life. By dedicating yourself to education, you show you value growth and intellectual curiosity, which are desirable traits. Travel is another excellent tool for expanding your worldview. Whether you take a weekend trip to a new town or embark on an international adventure, traveling exposes you to different cultures, ways of thinking, and ways of living. The experiences you gain from traveling shape your character and give you stories to tell, making you someone with depth and intrigue. Starting a side business or taking on personal projects can also contribute significantly to your sense of purpose and fulfillment. Building something outside your primary responsibilities shows dedication and ambition, qualities that draw people in. These ventures will help you grow and offer a sense of accomplishment and pride, further enhancing your independence. As you engage in these activities, living a fulfilling life without relying on someone else's presence to feel complete is essential. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that a relationship is the key to your happiness. However, true fulfillment comes from within. You radiate a magnetic confidence when you are content and engaged in your pursuits. You no longer appear desperate for validation or approval, because your happiness and success come from your efforts. When a woman sees you thriving in solitude, focusing on your growth and living independently of her, it creates a profound effect. She realizes that you are not dependent on her for happiness or success. You have built a life rich with purpose, fulfillment, and passion, naturally making you more intriguing. The contrast between someone focused on personal mastery and someone who only finds joy in the company of another is stark. This dynamic can lead to a sense of regret if the woman ever steps away from the relationship. She may realize that you were thriving without her despite her presence. Your independence and dedication to your growth make her rethink her actions. You've cultivated a rich and rewarding life, showing that you don't need anyone to complete you, because you already are. The key is to pursue excellence in solitude, not as an attempt to make her regret leaving, but as a way of honoring your potential. When you focus on yourself and consistently strive for growth, you create an environment where you and any future partner can thrive. The more you invest in your personal development, the more you show that you have something valuable to offer, not just to a relationship, but to the world. And in doing so, you become a man that she and others cannot ignore. Number 8. Setting boundaries that reflect your self-respect and value. In relationships, it's crucial to understand the power of boundaries. Especially regarding self-respect, the foundation of a healthy partnership begins with a clear understanding of your limits and the importance of holding firm to them. Boundaries aren't just about saying no to things that make you uncomfortable. They represent a more profound commitment to protecting your emotional well-being and ensuring that others treat you with the respect and dignity you deserve. When you set boundaries, especially in the face of toxic behavior, you're not just taking a stand for yourself, you're creating a standard for how you expect to be treated. Toxic behaviors like inconsistency and disrespect can erode a relationship's trust and emotional security, and it's important to recognize when they appear. If someone repeatedly crosses those lines, stepping back and cutting off the negative patterns before they become ingrained is essential. This might mean distancing yourself from someone, not meeting your needs, or addressing behaviors that make you feel unvalued. When someone you care about crosses those boundaries, it's natural to feel conflicted, especially if they later reach out, seeking reconciliation. However, the key here is to assess their actions, not their words. A simple apology or empty promises are not enough. Pay attention to what they do next. Do they show actual effort in changing the once damaging behaviors, or do they revert to the same patterns of inconsistency and disrespect? It's important to remember that when you've set a boundary, you do so because you recognize your worth. This isn't about playing games or seeking validation, it's about maintaining your integrity. Even if the person disrespected you returns, your decision to uphold those boundaries should not waver. Staying true to your principles, regardless of how they might try to manipulate or re-enter your life, is a powerful statement. It tells them you value yourself enough to not settle for less than respect and genuine care. The result of setting and holding these boundaries is profound. Over time, those who encounter your firm yet respectful stance will begin to recognize that they've lost someone who demands attention, admiration, and high regard. By standing your ground, you create a space where only those who genuinely respect you will remain. You also set the tone for future relationships, where self-respect and mutual appreciation are non-negotiable. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about attracting respect into your life. In the end, setting boundaries is an act of self-love. It's not about being rigid or closed off, but about honoring your needs and ensuring that your relationships are built on mutual respect. When you stand firm, you protect your well-being and teach others the importance of valuing you for who you indeed are. Number 9. The power of surrounding yourself with high-value individuals. Success is not merely a product of your efforts, but also a reflection of the people you associate with. The relationships you cultivate, the networks you build, and the communities you engage with all shape the person you become. Surrounding yourself with high-value individuals, ambitious, positive, and inspiring, elevates your mindset and opportunity. This is an essential principle in personal growth that profoundly affects how you are perceived by others, including a woman you might be interested in. Your life changes when you align yourself with people who inspire you to be your best. Seek friendships with individuals who challenge you to think bigger and motivate you to push past your limits. Whether it's a close friend who consistently holds you accountable or a mentor who shares wisdom from years of experience, these people help to mold your character. They don't just celebrate your successes, they encourage you during moments of doubt and push you toward growth. Joining communities that share your values and aspirations is another powerful way to surround yourself with like-minded people. If you're passionate about fitness, join a fitness group where people encourage each other to reach new milestones. If business and career growth are your focus, seek networking opportunities that expose you to ambitious professionals who motivate you to strive for tremendous success. These environments cultivate growth and support, where you can learn from others and challenge yourself to improve. The result of surrounding yourself with high-value individuals is clear. You will grow, not only as an individual but also in how others perceive you. When a woman sees you surrounded by ambitious and optimistic people, she will be drawn to the energy and success that comes with it. She will see a version of yourself that is focused, determined, and confident. A version of yourself that may have been hidden. The success of your new circle will naturally reflect on you, making you more attractive and respected. The relationships you build with these individuals will set you apart, highlighting the positive changes in your life and making you someone she can no longer ignore. It's not just about being around successful people, it's about the environment they create and the mindset they cultivate. A woman will be attracted to your growth and the confidence of being part of a high-value circle. The energy and ambition that surround you will make her regret not seeing that version of you sooner. She will realize that the person you've become is the one she could have had all along if she had paid closer attention. Ultimately, by surrounding yourself with high-value individuals, you elevate your life and increase the value you bring to any relationship. The positive changes you experience from your connections will shape you into someone capable of achieving great things and building lasting, meaningful relationships. Ultimately, the best version of yourself always surrounds himself with people who inspire, challenge, and push him to be more than he ever thought possible. Number 10. Live a life that inspires regret. How pursuing your purpose makes her realize what she lost. The most powerful move you can make in a relationship isn't to chase her or beg for her attention. The ultimate strategy is to live a life so fulfilling, so rich with purpose, that when she looks back, she regrets losing you. This doesn't mean focusing on making her regret anything, but instead on your personal growth, dreams, and the life you want to create. The reality is that when you invest in yourself and chase your fulfillment, everything else around you will fall into place. And yes, she may realize that she let something truly great slip away. This shift in focus doesn't stem from a desire to make her envious or to get back at her in any way. It comes from the belief that the best version of yourself is a man who relentlessly pursues his dreams, builds a meaningful life regardless of anyone else's presence, and leaves a legacy of growth and success. You create a life entirely of ambition, achievements, and personal satisfaction. As you do so, you also become more attractive, not because of what you do for her, but because of what you do for you. When a man is constantly striving for personal fulfillment, something powerful happens. His confidence grows, his sense of purpose becomes undeniable. People are drawn to that energy, and so will she. A man rooted in his purpose is magnetic because he stands out. He's not waiting for someone to complete him. He's already whole, already on the path to something bigger. That energy is contagious. She may see how much she missed out on over time. The fundamental shift comes when you build a life that stands independently, whether or not she's part of it. A man who pursues his passions, invests in his goals, and leaves behind a trail of success and growth will naturally attract people who want to be around that energy. If she's ever unsure about what she lost, she will look at the life you built without her and recognize that you were someone who didn't just exist, you thrived. Leaving a legacy isn't about fame or fortune. It's about your impact on the world, the relationships you build, the things you create, and the person you become. It's about showing that anyone else's approval or presence doesn't define your value. If she left, she'll look at the life you've built and realize that her absence hasn't halted your progress. It has only allowed you to go further. Over time, she may even wonder what being a part of that journey would have been like. But by then, you'll be so far ahead, so immersed in your path, that any regret she feels will come too late. You won't have to make her regret anything. Your success and growth will speak for itself. Ultimately, the most powerful thing you can do is keep moving forward. Chase your dreams, cultivate your purpose, and live a life that inspires you. You'll become the kind of man who is not only respected by others, but also someone who, in the end, makes her realize just how much she lost. And that's the ultimate form of self-respect. Living an entire, purposeful life that no one can take for granted. True power doesn't scream for attention. It resonates in silence, in the quiet strength of our actions. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that the most profound transformations come not from seeking revenge, but from choosing to better ourselves, walking with dignity, and refusing anyone's second choice. These 10 moves aren't about making her regret you, but about making you the person she regrets losing. They're about reclaiming your self-respect, growth, and life. The real victory lies in living authentically, in creating a future that doesn't rely on anyone else's validation. What should we start implementing today? Which action will you take to step into your power, to build a meaningful life that no one could ever underestimate you again? Suppose you found your thoughts. In the comments below, share your thoughts on whether you found value in these strategies, experiences, and insights. Let's support each other on this journey of growth RGG. Subscribe to the channel for more empowering content to help you live your best, most fulfilling life. Thank you for watching. Keep growing, keep evolving, and remember, true strength is found in the quiet moments, in the decisions that shape who we are becoming.